Their opinion piece is related to the July 13th Exeter Township Board of Supervisors meeting. I'm going to try to make this as brief as possible. I just acquired a 3-month-old puppy, lab, Shep mix, who's keeping me very busy. So I'll try to make my comments and my opinions here as brief as possible. So the first thing I'd like to talk about is the comment sections where I again brought up the issue of the $187,000 budget overrun, where we budgeted $40,000 for outside consulting services and spent $226,000. They tried to gloss over it like a small breeze blowing through the air, saying that, well, we explained that. Well, no, they explained the cost. I have the invoices, and they're all related to one vendor, and that's McMahon, who is a associate of John Granger. And as you know, Granger and some of the township supervisors have misspent hundreds, maybe if not millions, hundreds of thousands of taxpayer dollars irresponsibly. So the consulting fee area is an area that can be very abused, and they need to answer a couple questions about this. Why was it never reviewed before the board publicly? Who approved almost $200,000 in budget overruns? I mean, come on, most people who are familiar with budgets in business know that you just don't, overrun a budget by $200,000 and say nothing without a review. No, who approved these budget overruns? If you look at the invoices, there's no note on there that someone approved it. There's no initials that say this was approved by so-and-so. We're just sending money out to these vendors. This is very dangerous, and I think they still need to be held accountable for this. This isn't the only area. There are other departments, and it's consulting fees that are being overspent, over and above the budget. So they need to answer this, and I hope that some of you will try to put some pressure on them, besides myself, to get them to answer this issue. But you can see in this video, in the meeting, they avoid answering the real question, which is who approved these cost overruns? The reason why they're avoiding it is because no one approved them. They probably weren't even aware of them until they saw the report. There's no one controlling the finances of this township. And we should all be worried because at the beginning of the year, we had over $50 million in the bank. And we have an incompetent staff managing this money. And I can prove it. I'm not afraid to say it. They can challenge me all they want, but I can prove every single word I'm saying. Now, the second issue I want to address has to do with an event that occurred on Saturday, this past Saturday, and they had a Heritage Golf Tournament, and that's fine. That's kind of a private affair. Someone who puts it on, I believe, perhaps put on by the ERCCP, and we're going to talk more about the ERCCP in the future. But for right now, there was also a dedication that was performed at the golf course to dedicate the golf course as a historic national site. And this was by a federal state department that recognizes it as a national historic site. According to Mr. Speece, this wasn't a township item. This wasn't a township event. And for the life of me, I do not understand why he could say something like that. Who owns the Reading Country Club? Who owns the golf course? Well, that's simple. Exeter Township owns it. The taxpayers of this township own that golf course. So here we have a third, he claims is a third party, ERCCP, presenting a dedication of a National Historic Site on our property. And he doesn't think that this is a township event. Well, I disagree with you, Mr. Speece. This was a very positive and delightful township event, and you ignored it because you, sir, and your organization, ERCCP, seem to think that you own this golf course. Well, you don't. You do not own it. Just because you can walk out your back door and play golf at your leisure doesn't mean you own this course. Just because you're the current chairman, and you made that very clear at the golf tournament by telling me, I am the chairman. You know how foolish that sounded? But right now you are the chairman, and you have a great responsibility. And this was one of them where you should have informed the whole community that there was such a dedication being performed at the township's property. Now, Mr. Casada says that, well, we didn't inform everyone because we didn't want a whole bunch of people there because of distancing and COVID-19. But then Mr. Staub tells us that it was advertised at RCC Facebook page, at the Running Country Club Facebook page, at an ERCCP Facebook page. He mentioned it in the minutes of the prior meeting. He thought there was a link on the Exeter Township website that would take you to one of the Facebook page advertising it. It was advertised also, they claim, in the new newsletter that they send out. Well, I checked all those sources out. What was advertised was the Heritage Golf Tournament, not the dedication. Completely went over their heads. This dedication should have been promoted. It should have been promoted widely, and it should have been communicated to the citizens of this township that our asset was being put on a National Historic Register. Their other excuse you'll hear is that, well, yeah, we talked about this last year. Well, they talked about it last year, but that was a year ago. And everyone's supposed to remember that that day was the day that they were going to dedicate that plaque. And you can see that plaque, it's at the first tee. Someday, that may be the only thing that remains of that golf course is the golf club house and the first tee. But for now, we're spending a lot of money on the golf course. They're telling us it's making money or breaking close to even, but they're not showing us the true representation of the financial situation. Now, I don't have a problem with that, but what I do have a problem with is not telling the truth. It's very difficult to trust people who do not tell the truth. And that's what we have here. So I think that we have to be careful what we hear from these people. They're trying to make it like it's a non-event, it's not a big deal. But Mr. Speece's words continue to ring in my ears. This is the chairman of the board of our township supervisors, claiming that a designation plaque designating our asset as a National Historic Site is not a township event. So I want you to think about that. Does that make sense to you? Do you agree with that? And if you don't agree with it, I'd like you to contact them and set them straight and ask them to stop lying to us. There's a lot of other things at this meeting I could pick apart, but I'll leave you to ponder these two issues. Severe budget overruns. I've only pointed out this one, but there are more. And they're trying to buy more property to develop when they can't even get the Running Country Club food and beverage business running. There's serious issues with that. And you'll hear in this meeting where they talk about the HVAC system. We paid someone to come in and evaluate and give us plans to fix the heating, ventilation, and air conditioning, HVAC, in the food and beverage, the large building, the beautiful building where one time you could eat a great breakfast, lunch, or dinner, I guess. They let it sit there for years. And now our new manager says, hey, this is a township asset, you need to maintain it. So why did they do the work to begin fixing it in 2017 and then nothing happened? And now they're spending enormous amounts of money on the golf course for equipment, fertilizer, and maintenance. And I have to admit the golf course looks beautiful, but looks can be deceiving. But why are they spending all this time on the golf course, which at best would make, at the very best, makes about $20,000 a year in profit, when we had a food and beverage business going on in the larger building that contributed $250,000 a year to debt service? And it's laying there empty now, decaying. And this is our asset, and they refuse to take it seriously and work on it. Instead, they'd rather focus their attention on buying a couple pieces of swampland near Trout Run so that somebody can launch boats or can have more parking space. To me, right now, that's not at the top of the list. So you tell me what you think. I'd really like to have feedback on all this. And I hope you enjoyed my opinion, and I hope that you'll watch this video of the meeting very carefully once again, and contact them and give them your views on this. Am I on point or not? Thank you for listening to me.
Berks, 9545 is available.
I think something needs to be muted in the background.
Yeah.
Sounds like Chief's radio.
Yep.
Yeah, it's Larry's radio. We'll get that shut off.
Oh, we're live, Dave.
9545 is available.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to call to order the Monday, July 13th, 2020
I think
meeting.
something needs to be muted in the background.
Yeah.
Sounds like Chief's radio.
Yep.
Are we good?
We're good now.
Okay. As I said, I'd like to call to order the Monday, July 13th, 2020 meeting of the Board of Supervisors. Please rise for the pledge to the flag. Flag there. I pledge allegiance.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag.
to the flag
United
States of America,
and to
and to the republic
for which it
for
stands,
which it stands, one nation,
under
under
God,
God, indivisible,
with liberty
and
and justice for all.
Thank you. I apologize to everyone. We've had some technical difficulties tonight, some power issues. A few people still trying to get in. They will join us when they can, so we'll see that at roll call. I believe Jeff is still trying to get in, Jeff Bartlett and Greg Galtier. So we will proceed with roll call as of now. Mr. Casadas?
Here.
Mr. Staub?
Here.
Ms. Kircher?
Here.
Mr. Galtier? Absent for now. We will note if he can get in and join us. So we have 4 right now. So yeah, we'll do that when we get in. At this time, I would like to adjourn the meeting for the purposes of conducting 2 public hearings. So I think, Alicia, we need a motion to adjourn.
Yes, that's correct.
I'll make a motion to adjourn the July 13th, 2020 for the Supervisors Meeting.
I'll second it.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. We're going to open a public hearing for the repeal of Chapter 344 of the Exeter Township Code of Ordinances titled Telecommunications. This was advertised. The ordinance was available for inspection for the required period of time. There were no comments that were received. So I asked the board or the administration if anyone has comments to make on this notice, on this repeal. I'm hearing no comments. So I think we will entertain a motion to close the hearing.
I have a question just
Sure.
so we can explain it to the residents. Where was it advertised and for how long? I know they will ask us.
You want me to jump in, Dave, or do you have this?
Sure, please.
So this was advertised in the Reading Eagle, which is the newspaper of general circulation in Berks County. It's what's required to advertise this under the second-class Township Code. It was advertised on June 29th, which is between the 7-day minimum and the 30-day maximum in advance of the public hearing.
Thank you.
Great.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Alicia. So do I hear a motion to close the hearing?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Thanks, Michelle and John. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Ayes have it. We'll need a motion to open the hearing for revised telecommunications ordinance 390-70.8.
I'll make a motion to open the hearing on the revised telecommunications ordinance 390-70.8.
And this also was similar to the first hearing, was advertised. Ordinance was available for inspection, the required period of time. Comments were invited and we did not receive any. So it asked the board and the administration if anyone has any comments.
Did we get a second, Dave?
Did
I don't
you need a
think,
second, Dave?
yeah, I think we need a second.
Oh, for opening the hearing?
I made the motion.
Oh, no, I thought Michelle made the
Oh,
motion.
good.
Seconded.
Oh, no, that was the previous one.
Oh, the closing. Okay,
Yeah.
sorry.
I made the motion to open the second one.
I'll second it.
Second for Joe. Very good. Thank you. And I will just iterate that again, that the ordinance was advertised for inspection. No comments were received. So the board administration has any comments?
If I could just add this one, this is a zoning ordinance. It's an amendment to the zoning ordinance. So it was actually advertised for 2 weeks in a row on June 29th and July 6th, which is also consistent with the requirements of the municipality's planning code.
Thanks, Alicia.
And Dave, I just want to point out that there's a typo on the agenda. It reads 390-70.8. It should read 390-71.8, and that will be reflected correctly in the minutes.
Thanks, Laurie. I missed that.
I just have a question. Is this to just update it? Is that the basic reason?
Yeah, it's twofold. The one is that originally the telecommunications ordinance was contained in chapter 344, which is not the zoning code, and so it was a little bit unclear as to how a resident could seek relief if they wanted, for example, a variance or a conditional use. So part of this is moving it to the zoning ordinance in order to allow for those types of relief to be sought. The second part is exactly what you said, to update it in order to address some very significant changes that the FCC has made involving wireless communications facilities. So it's a pretty big, substantial ordinance, but it's really just kind of bringing it up to speed with the current regulations.
Thank you.
And I see that Jeff, you have joined.
I have joined. Can you hear me?
Yep, very
Yes.
good. So Laurie, if you could make a note that Jeff has joined. Very good. Okay, any further comments on this ordinance? If not, we will entertain a motion to close the hearing.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
That was John.
Michelle made the motion. I second.
Second. Any further discussion? All
No.
those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. So we will reopen the regular board meeting. Alicia, do we need a motion to do that, or we can just reopen?
You should make a motion to reopen.
I will make the motion to reopen the board meeting.
I'll second.
Who got in there first? Was that John or Joe?
It was a tie.
I think Joe has
It
it.
was Joe.
At the Joe.
Give it to Joe.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Public comments on agenda items.
Okay. We've got 4 public comments on agenda items. The first one is from Tom Howell.
You need another column. The information is posted on website, and where it's posted, everyone needs to know.
And that comment was regarding the, he notated that it was regarding the right to know report. And I just want to point out that his inflection, which is not captured by the computer reading, the word posted was in all caps. And that was the end of his comment.
So I don't understand the comment, but that it was
Is
not.
he referring to he doesn't want the names? Because the names aren't on there anymore on the right to knows. We took the names off for the public. So does he want the names back? Is that what he's saying? That's the comment that we took away, Dave, was the
I know, right. I know that,
Okay.
but I missed something. Do you want to replay the public comment?
Sure, I can. That is, yeah, I'll replay it. He just has listed that it's in reference to number 1 under unfinished business monthly right to know report. I'll replay it though.
You need another column. The information is posted on website, and where it's posted, everyone needs to know.
I don't understand.
Yeah, another column. It must be in the report, but I don't know what the column is. Maybe
Mr. Howell.
we could follow up on that
Yep.
comment separately.
Okay.
Okay. Go ahead, Laurie.
Okay. The next comment is from John Carmello, and he is commenting under new business on item number 5, discussion regarding HVAC repair and replacement project at the Reading Country Club.
Discussion regarding HVAC repair and replacement project at Reading Country Club. There still has been no decision on what is to be done with the property, so why are we considering repairs at this time? In addition, the public has not been informed of the scope of the repair and replacement project. Can you provide some details? 1. What needs to be repaired, replaced, i.e. vents, ductwork, air handler? 2. Is this a budgeted item? 3. Where is the money coming from to pay for the repairs replacement? 4. What is the timetable for the project? Don't expect an immediate answer, but an email response in the not too distant future would be appreciated.
Jeff, do you want to jump in on that one, or?
Yes, I was going to get into more detailed discussion when we get to that item, but I can,
We could delay it till that time if you would like.
yeah, I mean, I can contact him directly and give them the details, but I think I'd rather just get into it when we bring it up on that time in the agenda.
That's fine. Okay, Laurie?
Okay. And the next comment is from David Hughes, and he is commenting on, he listed agenda item on the public hearing.
Quick comment on the public hearing. How can you have a public hearing when you will not hold a public meeting? Most important is the lateness of this notice of a public hearing. Was it advertised in a timely manner? Please provide the date you advertised this public hearing and in what local paper. Advertised on our Exeter Township website. Like many, I no longer subscribe to the Reading Eagle. Thank you.
All right, Alicia, I think you've already covered that with the dates and the postings.
I did, and just to reiterate, the publication in a newspaper of general circulation is what's required by the pertinent regulations that govern the MPC and the second class township code. So that is what's required.
Good. Thank you. Okay, Laurie.
Okay, and the last one, the last individual is actually not a resident of the township, but she has submitted a comment regarding the Parks and Recreation item in regards to the reopening of facilities for rentals.
If the rest of the board is okay, I'm okay, since we've gone through pretty quickly to hear a public comment from non-resident.
Yeah, I'm fine with it.
Sure, go ahead.
Okay.
Hello, my comment is referencing the reopening of facilities for rental. I appreciate your time and your consideration. My daughter has a wedding ceremony and reception planned at done this September. No, a lot can and will change between now and then, but I am hoping that you will consider reopening facilities for people who have made rental reservations. This pandemic has been harsh in so many ways, and it would be a blessing to celebrate such a happy occasion. I cannot speak for all who have rental reservations, but I know that our loved ones are willing to do whatever it takes to have this special day in the safest way possible. We have 60 people if they all come. At-risk loved ones can participate via Zoom. We've considered mandating masks, except for eating and pictures, handing out hand sanitizer as favors, and even having bracelets for guests to share their comfort level of interactivity. Red for not ready yet, yellow for minimal contact, and green is okay to interact. We will space out tables for dining and have people serve the food. We are willing to shrink the guest list further, if need be. Our family is willing to stay late or come in the next day to help deep clean and sanitize for the next guests. We just know that our children, my daughter and her fiance, worked so hard and deserve their special moment. Please understand that we do not underestimate this virus. Many of our friends and family work in the medical field or in some line of essential work. I, myself, will be returning to the classroom this fall. We respect and grasp the risk, but also feel that we are capable of making good choices to minimize risk for those willing to attend the wedding in person. I thank you for your time and consideration and respect your decision on this matter.
Thanks, Laurie. Let me just note, I think it's 7:21. If you make a note, I think, Greg, you've joined us?
Yes, I have.
Very good, thanks. Just wanted to make a note of that. Yes, I can certainly empathize with this. We're going to cover this, I think, under item 4, unfinished business for the facilities. I believe I can certainly empathize. My daughter's getting married next weekend and has had 3 venues canceled on her, and now it's going to be in an open space somewhere with a limited. So it is a very difficult time, but yeah. Laurie, I think we're going to cover that under item 4, the rentals, or?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, so we'll cover that when we get there. That's the end of public comment?
That was it. That was the last one.
Very good, thank you. Let's move to minutes, June 22nd, 2020.
Make a motion to approve the minutes for June 22nd, 2020.
Well, second.
Thank you. Any further discussion on the minutes? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Disbursements, July 13th, 2020.
I move that we approve the disbursements as submitted.
I'll second that.
Okay, subject to audit or it's a treasurer's report, but yeah, either way. Any further discussion? I think, Joe, you had
Jen, can you, again, typical just reviewing some of the bills, there's some questions and some that kind of stand out. So I asked Jen to explain those for us, please.
Absolutely. The first one is All Traffic Solutions for $14,885. This is an electronic signboard that we purchased. It'll be used by the township and the police, primarily for traffic issues, when we pave, accidents, those sorts of things. Just of a note, we may be eligible for some federal or state COVID reimbursement for this board, since we have been using it for COVID-related matters. But that is unknown at this point, but we are submitting for some sort of reimbursement, and the company told us that we may be eligible for some reimbursement for that. That was being purchased out of the equipment fund. The next one is the Exeter Township Volunteer Fire Department second quarter incentive for $32,096. This is just the normal second quarter incentive payment that we make to the volunteer fire department. They in turn pay their or compensate their volunteer firefighters based upon the incentive program that they have. Number 3 was a check to the magisterial district across the street. It's for a civil complaint. I will note the number that was on the original sheets that were given out to the board and posted online. The amount is incorrect. It was listed as $6,959. That is not the amount of the check. We have corrected it. The $6,900 is what we will be suing the complaint for. Okay. This was uninsured driver that hit some guide rail that had to be replaced. So we normally, of course, go after the insurance company. They did not have valid insurance at the time of the accident. So we'll be filing a civil complaint. The actual amount is $203.50. Those are the filing costs. If we do win our complaint, we would get both the complaint amount and the filing costs back from the other person. Number 4 is Promax fence, $12,152. This is for the fence around the walking trail or parts of the walking trail at Lorraine Hollow Park. The fence is between the walking trail and some steep portions of a retention pond that are at the side of the walking trail. This was recommended by our insurance company, and the funds are coming out of the Park Improvement Fund. The last is a payment to the U.S. Treasury. This is for the amount of $429. This is for the 2019 health insurance PCORI fee. This is a mandatory fee that we need to pay every year. It's due July 31st. It's for the Patient-Centered Outcomes Research Institute fee. This was instituted when Obamacare went into act. It was to expire last year. However, they have re-upped this fee for the next, I believe, 10 years. So anyone who provides, all companies that provide employee health insurance have to annually pay a fee per covered life of health insurance. So this year it was $2.54 per covered life, and we have about like 169, I think, lives it was.
Thanks, Jen.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Follow-up question. I mean, Jen or Jeff, I mean, the trickle-down funding down to the township from the county, from the state to the county, do we have any update on what's happening there, or when they're going to decide what townships receive for COVID impact?
We have been involved in looking at we were in a Zoom meeting with the county on the application process. It's not really determined how much or if we'll receive. Their basic input to us was to apply for it. It doesn't hurt anything that we think is COVID related to apply as part of the application process. So it's yet to be seen how that's going to play out. Anything associated with it, supplies, extra time for cleaning that we had to bring in extra people or anything like that, all those things are technically eligible. So it really comes down to how they assign the final monies, but we're applying for all of those things.
Great, thank you. Any further comments? So we had a first from Joe, a second from John. All those in favor of approving the disbursements?
Aye.
Opposed?
I'm opposed just because I just got some of the papers tonight on it, and I really didn't have a chance to go through them all.
Okay. Ayes have it. One opposed. Thank you. Unfinished business, monthly right to know report. Certainly it's available online. Jeff, I don't know if you want to comment. I certainly noted, again, fast response time, somewhere between 4 and 13 days. So everything is getting covered. I don't know. Comments, Jeff, or anyone else?
Most of the items that are requesting are relatively minor. They don't take a great deal of research. The ones that go beyond 5 days typically are the ones where we've asked for an extension, and then we're able to fulfill that before the extension expires. A lot of these are standard types of right to know requests, property issues, things of that nature. So we are really trying to speed up the process with everyone. I don't think we have anything extreme at this point out there. We have a couple of them that we were able to turn around in 2 days. And that our goal obviously would be, unless it's something extraordinary, is to keep it under the 5 days. And if it's something extraordinary, then, it's going to take a lot more research or a lot more information gathering, where we might have to redact information off a large number of documents. So we are moving ahead with it. I think we're doing a little better in general on this process.
Excellent. Thanks, Jeff. Monthly golf report. I think that also available on the website. I don't know, Joe, if you want to make comments. Obviously, the results were pretty incredible, I think, for the month.
Should I have a motion first? Do we need a motion for that to accept the report?
I don't believe so. We're just reporting the results.
Okay. Yeah, just some highlight, the number of rounds for the month, just shy of 4,000. It's the highest number of rounds in a month that we've had on record. In fact, it's 962 rounds over last year at this time. Also, the revenue for the month, including tax, was 143,000, which again is also the highest number that we have reported on record, at least that I could go back and find. We now have caught up year to date with the income, even with missing six weeks. We're $118 over last year's income, and we're trending this month to exceed last July's number of rounds, probably by 500 or so. So everything is going very well over at the Reading Country Club.
No, excellent. Thanks, Joe. And I think that's with, limited snowfall and other revenue streams.
Correct.
Any other comments on the monthly golf report? All right, we can move on. Discussion on community park. Jeff, Clarence, not sure who's going to cover that or wants to.
I think community park. No, that.
I guess we were waiting. Has Joe had an opportunity to talk to the school board? Or?
I have. I had a Zoom meeting today at 3:00 with Dave Hemberger, who's the chair, and Hunter Ahrens. Mr. Japina was tied up with COVID-related stuff at the hospital, I believe. He wasn't able to join. We had a good conversation, and one of the things that what they're going to do is they're going to get back to their board and just discuss what options they may feel for that particular facility. They've asked us obviously to continue our conversation, but one of the things that we would like to do, and Laurie and Jeff, if you could possibly reach out to the administration over at St. Lawrence, what we'd like to do is set up it would probably be a Zoom meeting where the folks at St. Lawrence, the folks from the school district, and us would be on there. As you know, it's kind of a weird triangle here where the property's in St. Lawrence, but we're taking care of it, but the school district owns it. And, I stressed to them that our concerns with the condition of the property, the fact that we were really at this point in time, we're not interested in continued improvements, especially with it being vandalized. So we wanted to reach out to St. Lawrence to see if there is a level of interest where they could just discuss the possibilities of maybe them getting involved. And I believe the school district has an interest of maintaining it. Again, I know there's been a lot of memories down there, but I also know that the place is just all beat up. So we were hoping to go that route and before we make a final decision. Thoughts, everyone?
Thanks, Joe. So the action would be for administration to have that conversation?
Just set up, and I'm happy to be part of that as well, along with the school district and with St. Lawrence, because again, with the property being in St. Lawrence, maybe there is an interest for them to do something other than what we've talked about, which is eliminating those structures down there.
Yeah, I know last year they had no entrance, St. Lawrence, so maybe something changed.
Yeah,
But did they talk about tearing the pavilion?
No, I understand that was the case, but I figure it's worth a shot, right?
Yeah, it doesn't hurt to see if they have any interest now. Maybe something changed.
Yep.
But the pavilions, so hold off on tearing down the pavilions for now.
Well, again, too, I think that we can have a conversation. That pavilion's been a wreck for quite some time. I don't think another couple of weeks is going to kill us.
Okay.
Sure, yeah.
We just want to know when to tear them down, I guess, is the question.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it sounds like you have that discussion, and we'll keep it on unfinished business for the next board meeting.
If we can get something set up and do a Zoom meeting in the next week or so before the next meeting, we can gauge the level of interest, find out from the school district what they've spoken about internally, because they have a new board. Again, some of their board members probably aren't even aware of that property and the way it's set up. The concern the school district had is because of the use, because there is no school there now at Lausch, it's just the administration building, that they really have limited use for that section of ground.
Yeah.
At least that's the way I understood it.
No, I'll reach out to St. Lawrence tomorrow and I'll get a meeting set up. I'll touch base with you to see who all you'd like invited.
Okay, thanks, Laurie.
Sure.
Great, thank you. Item 4, under unfinished business, discussion on parks and recreation facilities and field rentals. Laurie, I think you
Hey, yes.
have a few items here.
I will be covering this. So I think you all were given a copy of the recommendations that I wrote up. So I'm just going to briefly go through, and if it's okay with you, Dave, I'm thinking I'll take them sort of one at a time and see if everybody agrees or has thoughts. And I'm just going to summarize pretty briefly.
Yes.
So the first item that for consideration as to reopening are the restrooms at our park facilities. I've compared for each one of these items. There's a ton of guidance out there. There are a lot of guidelines. So I've gone through and compiled the data from the Pennsylvania Parks and Rec Society, the CDC, the Department of Health, the National Recreation and Parks Association, and I've also consulted with our insurance company. I also reviewed PSATs for their recommendations, and pretty much everything that they said was to refer to the Department of Health and the CDC guidance. So that's what I've done here. So everything that I talk about, all of these recommendations are based on the guidance that I reviewed and compared. So as far as the restrooms at the parks, we do have restroom facilities at all of our parks. They've been closed. My recommendation at this point would be for them to continue remaining closed. And we will post signage alerting users that there are no facilities available, so they need to plan ahead, bring hand sanitizer if they're using the parks. The primary reason for maintaining that closure is the concern with not having the manpower to keep them sufficiently sanitized up to the standards. If we do open them and they begin getting crowded and really used, they really should be cleaned on a more frequent basis than we have the manpower to be able to do. So I don't know if anybody has any questions on the restrooms. That's my thought on those at this point.
Makes sense to me.
You've done a lot of research there.
Yeah.
I agree with your recommendation.
Okay.
Michelle or John?
No, I'm in agreement too. We don't want the liability.
Yeah.
We want someone to get COVID, and the best thing to do is keep them closed and notices up.
Yep.
But from a park perspective, wait, what's still open and it's not open? The baseball fields, the
Well, I guess
tennis courts?
Lori's going through one by one.
Oh, you go to one by one? Okay.
Yeah, I was going to
Oh,
go
wait,
one by one. I can review
Okay.
quickly what is
No.
open
Go
at
ahead.
this
Just do what
point.
you were doing. No, just
Okay.
do what you were doing. Yeah, just,
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm
I'm
sorry.
really only covering at this point things that are still closed.
Got it. Thanks.
Okay, so restrooms in agreement, keep them closed at this point.
Yep.
So I started with those because some of the other decisions are contingent, I think, upon that. Playground equipment, that's a bit of a complicated one because for several reasons. But number one is we don't really have a sufficient way to block people from using it. My opinion on this, and with speaking with our insurance company and going through all of the guidance, is the best course of action for the equipment is to clean it. So we are in the process of power washing it and making sure it's all at a baseline of clean like we would for the beginning of the season. I would be comfortable reopening the playground equipment itself. So we're talking like the slides and the swings, those sort of things, because the information available suggests that they're not as high of a risk and there's not really a need or recommendation to use actual like sanitizing solutions on the equipment. But with the idea that we will be posting signage again to alert anybody who may choose to use the equipment, that there are no restrooms available for hand washing, so you need to bring your own hand sanitizer. And we also would be keeping an eye on the playgrounds to make sure that they're not being subject to overcrowding and that the equipment themselves is not being overcrowded. Part of this decision was based on, we've had playground closed signs up since March. They've at this point in most places been torn down. People are using them, but everything that I've witnessed, people are using them responsibly and it's not being crowded. So I wouldn't see an issue with us if we clean it ahead of time. Divot, our insurance company has agreed that it would be okay to open that because it's more of a low risk activity.
Very good. Again, and thanks for certainly the research, comments, and checking with the insurance company. I would tend to agree with you. Other comments from others?
I would agree with her as well. I mean, having the insurance company involved is important. And the reality is people can get to the equipment whether we say they can be on or not.
Agree. And again, on the side, I sent Laurie a message earlier today. The time and energy put into that report was a lot for reading it. So thank you again for the research. I know it took a long time to read, so I know how long it took to write.
Very good.
Okay, then moving along. So rental facilities is what I covered next. So I'll start with the pavilions. My recommendation on the pavilions would be to remain closures for the pavilions for rentals. We only have, I think, a handful, very few that are actually scheduled between now and the end of the year. If we're not opening the restrooms, we really shouldn't be renting the pavilions out anyway. And the pavilions just bring additional challenges with monitoring and making sure that people aren't crowding. And we just really don't have the resources or the capacity to be monitoring each pavilion at each park every day and making sure they're not getting overcrowded. And again, that all high touch surfaces are getting sanitized. That's not a normal practice for us. We clean the parks, of course, daily, but not to the level that really would be required during these times. So that would be my recommendation on the pavilion rentals themselves.
And unfortunately, the same as the playground areas, unless we put up stockade fences around each of these areas, some people are still going to use them. We have put caution tape around the pavilions and put signs up, and people tear the tape down 20 minutes after we leave and throw the signs away, and we find people sitting at the tables. Unfortunately, people are going to do that. It's very, very difficult to keep it secured. But I agree with Lori that it's difficult to sanitize a pavilion area and the picnic tables. Playground equipment can be sanitized a little better. A lot of it's metal and plastic that can be sprayed down easier. than some of the picnic tables in a pavilion.
Jeff or Lori, I mean, are the signs that we have posted, I don't think I saw the actual sign. I mean, did they mention that they're subject to fines and consequences if they're tearing them down and using the facility? Tearing down the tape?
No, they really just said that the parks were closed.
Yeah.
That the playgrounds were closed.
And again, it's a matter of catching someone. They could be charged, I guess, with institutional vandalism, taken to the magistrate. It's doubtful that they would be getting severe fines or anything. It may put the word out there that we're serious about it, but you know, it's still going to be an ongoing battle unless you have cameras up or have people guarding each park and playground. It's very difficult to enforce.
Right, but I guess it's the point of condoning it as far as liability and other things.
Right,
Well,
I agree, yeah.
One thing that could be done, it would be some work, and I'm not sure where you would go, is you could remove all the tables.
That's actually, I had floated that idea, but you're exactly right. The manpower to remove all the tables. Some of them are also bolted down at the parks to avoid people stacking them up or putting them places that we don't want them. So it does present some challenges, and we don't really have anywhere to put them. And from everything that I've read, I think it's less of a concern, and really the main reason that I'm recommending not opening for rentals at the pavilions themselves is really just because then we would have to monitor that more, and that puts more of the onus on us. From what I see, and I've been out watching the parks, and they're not really getting crowded, but if we open for reservations at the pavilions, that's when we're going to see the crowds and the groups of people having parties there. I think it's less of a concern of several people who may be walking through who sit down at a picnic table for a brief period of time than it would be with the crowding and maybe no masks and that sort of thing, rather than the surfaces as far as the picnic tables go.
Yeah. Very
I
good.
think what you're saying makes sense.
Yep. Comment from others?
Yep, makes sense.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm in agreement.
Great, perfect. So the Dunn Center is a little bit more complicated of a discussion, but I'm just going to kind of briefly touch, and if you have questions, just let me know. But if we were to reopen the Dunn Center for reservations, it comes with its own set of challenges, and we would really need to be enforcing the 50% occupancy. We would need to be enforcing mask requirements, seating 6 feet apart, making sure that we're cleaning in between parties. And we do rent the Dunn Center to multiple groups in each day. So we have different parties that are coming in, and our facility rentals run primarily on the honor system. We rely on the people who are renting them to clean up after themselves. So we don't generally have a cleaning service going in between parties. The people who are using it are supposed to clean up after themselves. So if we were to reopen, not only would we be having to monitor all of the things that I just mentioned, which is not something that we typically do. We don't have somebody on site during these parties. We would also need to spend an extra expense bringing our cleaning company in, like 3 times as much as we pay for them to be in there now, which would not, the rental fees that we charge would not come close to covering that cost. Not that that's the main concern. Really, my main concern is then we might have a facility that is not sufficiently sanitized for the number of people that are using it. So my recommendation, given the guidance and I'm not comfortable being able to guarantee that we can offer a facility that is going to keep people safe. I would recommend that we keep the facility closed for reservations for the rest of the year, which gives me sufficient time to notify those who have rented it. It has been closed to new rentals since March, so the only ones that are on the books at this point are those who got in like in January and February and made their reservations. It's about 15 from now until the end of the year. This would allow me to give them sufficient notice that we're not going to reopen, rather than doing it on a month-to-month basis like we have been doing.
So Lori, the only call you really had was that public comment we had today. Is that the only one that's been pushing to have it at the Dunn Center? The others are kind of more understandable.
Everybody pretty much understands. And I actually spoke to, so that public comment, I've actually spoken to, it's her daughter that's having her wedding. I've spoken to her and let her know that what we're looking at. I've been trying to be really honest with everybody and let them know that it's really up in the air. It's ultimately your decision, but we would be subject to all of these guidelines, which make it challenging for people to have their party anyway. Every one of our reservations that are already scheduled have more, like they'd have to cut their guest list. Everybody's been pretty understanding though. Everyone, you know, it's kind of the same conversation every time. They're disappointed, but they understand.
Okay, thanks.
Lori, I got a question. You know, it's probably cost prohibitive, but I mean, if there was someone very passionate, if we contacted someone like a ServPro or something, and it would probably be, you know, very expensive, and said, hey, a whole third party in charge of basically this, we're sanitizing restrooms, everything, and it might be $500 or $1,000 surcharge, like you have in the fuel surcharge area or something. Is that some number that we could get and say, you know, are you willing to pay this X amount of dollars for this third party company to be there and certify compliance?
Well, I did cost out on here because we do use a third-party cleaning service that cleans our facility on a normal basis. During actual rental, when rentals are happening, they clean it twice a week. Yeah, and it's about $330 per time. Now, the challenge comes in for reservations like the upper level of the Dunn Center. We rent out in 2 time blocks, so a morning time slot and an afternoon time slot. There's only an hour window in between there.
Yeah.
So I'm sure that, yes, we would probably then be subject to even higher prices because that would be really considered more of like an on-call service to make sure that they get there and are able to clean in that amount of time. Now, if some of these parties do rent they rent both time slots, probably the wedding, I would imagine, would rent both. So it's a possibility. It's just that from my perspective, the cleaning is not the only issue.
Yeah.
If the cleaning were the only issue, then that is something that I would say, yes, we could take it to the renters and say, are you willing to pay this extra dollar amount? Even though that it may not actually work out to be that easy depending on how the facility has been booked, because the lower level is booked in 2-hour increments. My other concern is that it would be on us. We're the ones that are responsible for enforcing the capacity and the mask requirements and the social distancing and all of that. And we don't have somebody that's on site that would be doing that, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's complicated. I mean, other comments?
I was going to ask a similar question, Dave, about the cleaning facilities. Someone whose daughter just canceled their wedding. I'm familiar with the issues that are going on here. I didn't know if there was something from a waiver to protect us from liability with increased cleaning fee with a commercial cleaning company that was able to do that. That's the only thing I was thinking about. I mean, obviously some parties we know are going to be canceled. It's when you get into the weddings and things like that where it does get a little bit more difficult, but I certainly understand the decision. I just didn't know if there was a way on an exception basis if something like that would be able to be done. But if you're saying that it can't, then.
Right. And I would say, yeah, you couldn't do 2 in a day. It would be 1 a day.
When's the wedding, Lori? When's the wedding date?
What's it, John?
When's the wedding date that the public caller called on?
I believe
What's the
she
date of the wedding?
said September.
Do we have any staff members, do you believe, that would be interested in extra pay on a per time basis as a compliance officer, that they would actually pay for the cleaning, but then also to pay for a staff member to be there to monitor, that kind of thing? The answer might be no. I mean, I'm just...
Perhaps, well,
You'd have to
Maybe
ask someone.
is kind of my best answer. We might. I don't. Yeah, I don't exactly have a great answer to that right now.
That's because I asked a ridiculous question, maybe.
I mean, I could certainly look into it. That was off the top of my head. No, I don't. Nobody comes to mind exactly, and I'm just trying to think through the.
We'll just,
How do we really
Yeah.
enforce it? And I'm thinking of having one of our staff there. What do they really do if?
Right. Well, and a wedding, you're going to have people dancing, I assume. They want to have a normal type wedding. And so
Right.
how do you really control social distancing? with that?
Exactly. And we reviewed, because we actually looked at some of this guidance before with, as it pertains to the Reading Country Club, and there are a lot of regulations. Like, I think we actually came up, like, a dance floor is not permitted because you have to keep people, if you're standing, you have to be wearing a mask, and you can't be you can't be closer than 6 feet from one another. And the arranging the tables in the Dunn Community Center, it's just, my personal opinion is that the format that the Dunn Center and our facilities in general are run just are not conducive to this level of regulations. We're not a banquet facility that is well suited to make these kind of adjustments. However, if it seems like this is going to be an ongoing thing, I can rewrite the policies and I can rethink it and come up with other ways so that come December, when I make my recommendations to you all with the fee schedule and the policies that I'd like to put in place, if we're still doing these types of things, at that point, we can maybe have something like that where we have somebody that has to be on site, and we just kind of have to rethink the whole way that we do these facility rentals. But right now, the way that they run on an honor basis, I just think it opens us up to a lot of risk.
So you couldn't have a dance floor? Did I hear that correctly?
That was one of the
things
we identified. Yeah, we were looking into weddings at, like,
I can't imagine people are going to be that anxious to have a wedding at the Dunn Center if they can't have a dance floor anyway.
Right.
So
Yeah, and this is Alicia Luke. I'm sorry, I've been having power issues all night, but I am able to participate telephonically. We worked with Jen about the country club regulations, and it was very clear to us that a dance floor would not have been required. We thought, or would have been permitted. We felt like they could probably do like a father-daughter dance or a first dance, but in terms of a live band with groups of people, it was going to be definitely not permitted.
Okay. I think we all just feel for people, but the reality is it's just not possible.
yeah, like I said, it's difficult. Like, my daughter at 3 venues canceled, and now I'm just doing it with a very small group in an outdoor park, and you just don't have the traditional wedding right now. It's difficult.
Yeah,
I think
absolutely.
The way we're structured, Lori, like you said, unfortunately, I just think we have to just, cancel all the reservations and communicate to all the people that rent it. Let them know
Right.
now so they can look for Plan B.
Yeah, I agree.
Absolutely. Okay. Yeah, and that was really my, I hate to do it. Of course, you want people to be able to have their events that they've planned, but at least I figure the least we can do is give them as much advance notice as possible rather than kind of trying to wait and see and trying to pull it off. So I appreciate that.
All right. Is there anything else?
Yeah, great work, Lori.
Thank you. You're not done with me yet, though. I've got 2 more.
Difficult ones.
I think these will go pretty quickly. Basketball courts. All of the guidance really says that the nature of the sport of basketball just really is not conducive to social distancing. I've tried to read it every which way, and I just keep coming back to, I don't see any way that we put the rims back up at the basketball courts and open the hoops without attracting crowds of people.
It's impossible.
Yeah.
Even if you were playing 2-on-2, there's going to be a lot of physical contact.
Yeah, and you're sharing a ball, you're sharing equipment, and all of the guidance says not to do that.
And a lot of sweat.
A lot of sweat, and it's another scenario where we don't really have the manpower or the resources to monitor it. And a lot of the guidance really, and I'll talk about this a bit when we get to the next topic with the sports fields, but a lot of the guidance out there is really designated or geared more towards like an organized basketball league where there would be somebody like a coach on site who's making sure that people are following the rules and being safe. But just opening the courts up to the public, I think, is going to attract crowds, and it's just not safe at this point. And I think we should be mitigating risk as much as we can for the benefit of the community.
Agree.
I agree.
Okay, I agree.
Okay. All right. So last one. Oh, sorry. I don't know if I cut anyone off.
Nope.
Okay. Sports fields. So this was another one. There's a lot of guidance out there for it, and there's a lot of differing opinions. And I did speak with the school district about this to get on the same page to see what they're doing. So my recommendation at this point, to kind of make a long story short, is I would say we can reopen with some contingencies in place. So my recommendation would be we can reopen the fields to those organizations who have made reservations with us, because that way they can certify to us, to the township, that they are responsible for meeting all of the CDC guidelines. They're going to make sure that they're enforcing the like the travel quarantine recommendations that are in place by the governor, that they just came out and said that, yes, that does apply to kids in youth sports programs. So only to organized sports. So we're not talking opening to free play. We already discussed the fact that restrooms are not going to be available. So my recommendation for that would be that the sports organizations rent porta potties, that they are responsible for making sure that they are sanitized, being cleaned, and they're available to their group only, or if they want to share with another sports team, that's fine. That's kind of up to them. And then it would be on them to contact me and coordinate the rental of the porta potty. So I make sure that the township maintains some control, at least of where they go and how long they're there and that sort of thing. And make sure that they're not sharing equipment. And if they are using our equipment, because some of them do use our equipment for maintenance, that the teams are sanitizing it. So basically the idea is they can use the fields, they can play their seasons, but they must certify to us that they are following all of the CDC guidelines and the Department of Health guidelines to make sure that they're keeping kids safe. And then I would say we also put a contingency plan in there that if we get complaints or we're out there and we see that maybe someone's being a little too lax and the rules are not being enforced, then we have ultimate authority to pull the ability to use the fields.
Lori, the softball league that the person who keeps emailing me, is that the league you're talking about?
I'm not really talking about anybody specific, just in general. That's just something that, just to make sure that we have an ability to.
Yeah, no, but the one that emailed me and I forwarded it to you, is that the group you're talking about? They've been booking with us for the last few years.
Oh, that is one.
One softball league. Okay.
Yeah, the softball league is one that.
That's the Chris Jordan
one of our
email,
fields.
Dave.
Yeah.
Chris Jordan keeps hounding us, so that's his league.
Yeah, and that's actually, but I spoke to the school about that too, because they only use one of our fields. The other fields that they use belong to the school district.
Okay.
Now, I'd say certainly a good amount of research that you've put in here. Very good recommendation. I'd be supportive of what you're recommending.
Myself as well.
Yep.
I agree too. I think you've done a great job with this, Lori.
Thank you.
I'm in agreement with it, Lori, too.
Great, thank you.
Very good. Thanks, everyone. Is that any more, Lori?
No, that's it.
Just one question, Lori. The skate park, is that open? Because I got an email about that as well.
Yes, the skate park and the tennis court at Lorraine Hollow.
Okay.
Those have been open since the yellow phase. So I posted signage at both of those and they've been open.
So the skate park's at Pineland Park.
Correct. Yep, the skate park has been open and the tennis courts at Lorraine Hollow. We get a lot of calls about the tennis courts at Community Park, but those are not ours.
Those are the school districts. Okay, sounds good. Thanks. I'll email back the residents. Appreciate it.
Yep, but yes, that has been open.
Very good. Thanks, everyone. Item number 5 under unfinished business, update on Community Communications Committee.
Yeah, Jeff, Laurie, Michelle, and I met, I guess, a couple weeks ago to kind of take a look at where we're at. we had the second newsletter go out. I saw some people this weekend who had a lot of positive things to say about the newsletter, Laurie. That they're getting it and they appreciated it. I know you sent an email today about postcards, but I wasn't available, so I'm going to let you talk about that kind of stuff because I didn't read the email yet. I just saw it was postcards.
Yeah, no problem. So I can cover that. I'll give you a couple stats first on the newsletter. We did send out our second edition, like Greg just said, just a couple days ago. So we are up to 397 subscribers now to the e-newsletter list. So we've got 51 new subscribers since we sent out the first edition. So in between the two editions. For the July edition, we've got a 69% open rate. So that's how many of those who have received it have read it. And we managed to reach another 439 people on Facebook by posting the newsletter itself on Facebook. And with other Facebook posts, we've reached over 1,000 people trying to encourage more signups. So hopefully that will continue. As far as the postcards, I got a couple quotes. So I shared that information with you and Michelle for the dollar amounts. And I did mock up a design that I shared with you all. So maybe that's something that by the next meeting, we can have a better idea of getting those out. We're looking at about $1,100, $1,200 plus postage to send a postcard out to every resident. We got several quotes, and again, the dollar amount doesn't require that we get a number of quotes, but it's, you know, just a good idea to get some comparative data. But the benefit of sending the postcard out is that not only would it encourage people to sign up for the e-newsletter and opt in if they want a paper copy, but it would also include information on signing up for SwiftReach, the emergency alert system, because we are still struggling to get people to sign up for that, just like we were the first time we rolled a system like that out. It's just hard to reach people. So we're hoping that this would be a good way to do that and kind of kill two birds with one stone.
Just a reminder, the reason for the postcards is to notify the community that we won't be mailing newsletters out, that they either need to sign up for a paper copy or sign up for electronic if they want the information. So that's the purpose of the postcard.
And that's a good point, Greg, because the cost, obviously, the cost of us sending the postcard out is less than we would have spent sending the regular newsletter out. So we're not spending any additional money.
The sponsors that would advertise in our newsletter, do you think we could see if they'd be interested in paying for some of the postcard and advertise on the postcard somehow?
That's something I could look into. We haven't had advertisements in our printed newsletter since I've been here. We haven't had sponsors for it. We could look into it. I'd be a little bit concerned about availability of space on the postcard to be able to do it, but it's certainly an avenue that I could research.
You can use the list I sent you in the Greater Berks, the Greater Chambers list, Lori. Maybe someone from that list would be interested.
Right, absolutely.
It could simply be printing compliments of whoever. The one concern I have is with that, I'm not against it, but we talked about the marquee and developing a pricing policy and so forth. And, you know, are we getting the cart before the horse? We talked about this meeting with Jeff, and that's one thing that is on his radar. So that would be the only concern about that. But if someone wanted to pick up the tab for the price of the printing of the postcards with compliments of so forth on it, I don't see a problem with it. Mm-hmm. It wouldn't necessarily have to fit within our policy that we don't have yet.
Right. And there's a couple local printers that have offered to do that sort of thing in the past. Yeah, so it might be worth checking with just, you know, someone local that wanted the advertisement, but yeah.
I don't know, maybe, Laurie, what you do is choose 10 people you think send them an email, and if we get a response, great, and if not, we just move ahead.
Or we could get, Lori, the other option is to get actually like a printing company to do the work, and then they just not charge us. Like Mail Shark's an example. The guy lives in Exeter. I could reach out to him and see if he wants to just do them. Just do the
Right.
postcard. They do great work.
Yeah.
Worth checking. Not a
Yeah,
lot. I mean, it's a
I could call him tomorrow.
Yeah.
What, it's about 1,200. That's
Yeah,
the price you got.
Those are the quotes that I got, yeah.
Who was that? Just email me who you went to, and I'll make sure not to go to them.
Okay, yep, we'll do.
One other thing we talked about in this meeting with Michelle and Jeff and Laurie is there was something with the website, and we all know, listening to Laurie's previous report, she's been quite busy. But I don't know if you've had a chance to check on the search function on the website. I know that's on your list, but it couldn't have been a top priority compared to the COVID stuff. I'm just curious if you've had a chance to look into that yet.
I have not, but I can do that first thing tomorrow because I just need to get into my account and I should be able to go back and see if they've responded, because I did put a ticket in for it.
Okay. So, and look, like I said, that's not a criticism. The COVID was definitely more of a priority. But I just let people know that we are looking at that and ways to improve the website. And at some point, we want to take a look again at electronic marquee, but we had said we want some kind of advertising pricing guideline. So that needs to be worked on as well. So that's it.
Very good. Excellent. Thanks, everyone on the Communications Committee. And comments from everyone else. Move on to new business. Authorize repeal of Chapter 344 of the Exeter Township Code of Ordinances titled Telecommunications. Will, or I don't know if you're on, does anyone need to make any comments on this? We did this, basically covered this in the hearing. I think we're just authorizing repealing the old ordinance, and then we'll be approving the new one.
Yeah, that's correct, Dave.
So we need Alicia, I think we need a motion to authorize the repeal.
Correct, yes, and a second.
I move that we authorize the repeal of Chapter 344 of the Exeter Township Code of Ordinance titled Telecommunications.
Thanks, Joe.
Second.
I'll second it.
I think John already got in there.
Okay.
Right. Very good, thanks. Any further discussion on this one? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Item number 2, under new business, approved telecommunications ordinance 390-70-.8. I think it's 71.
71, yep.
Right.
I'll make a motion
That's
to
correct.
approve telecommunications ordinance 390-71.8. For you, Greg, the number's wrong on the agenda. It's 390-71 for your notes.
Okay.
Second.
Thanks, everyone. Any further discussion?
I just asked, was there anything in the hearing that was different than what I looked over before?
No.
Okay.
No.
No, there wasn't. And just for your benefit, I had explained that the repeal of the 344 and putting it into 390 is so that's appropriately in the zoning code, the zoning ordinance, when it was not, as 344, a resident who wanted relief, in the form of a variance or something like that. It was a little bit unclear about how to pursue it. So that's part of the change. And then it's a very extensive, as you know, the 390-71.8. It's really just to address voluminous FCC updates about wireless communication facilities.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
Very good. Any further comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Item number 3, authorize advertisement of design manual for the telecommunications ordinance.
This document will provide aesthetic standards for potential telecommunication equipment to be located in the township. It's about a 7-page document, I believe.
Yep.
I'll make a motion to advertise the design manual for telecommunications ordinance.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Item number 4, approval of Exeter Township Volunteer Fire Department Tax Credit Program. I think this is a continuation of a program we started a year or two ago. Jeff, I don't know if you or someone else was going to cover this.
These are standard quarterly payments. By ordinance, we provide tax relief to our emergency responders. They submit the documentation to us, and then we provide a reimbursement back to the organizations. This is it's in accordance with our standard ordinance that was approved by the board several years ago, and this is just a quarterly update.
Thanks, Joe. Yeah, I think it's a great program and supports our volunteers.
Helps incentivize the department, and also has increased our membership drive. We actually got a couple more members that actually moved into Exeter because of the ordinance, where they get a little tax break for being a volunteer firefighter. So
Yeah.
it's a good program.
Thanks, John. I'll make a motion to approve the Exeter Township Volunteer Fire Department Tax Credit Program list.
I'll second.
Who was that, Greg?
Here's me.
Give it to Greg.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Item 5, discussion regarding the HVAC repair and replacement project at Reading Country Club. Jeff,
Okay.
you have some background on this?
Sure. Back in January of 2017, the township put out a request and had a study completed by an engineering firm to do a complete study and workup of all the HVAC and mechanical systems in the Reading Country Club facility. It's quite an extensive report, and they put this package together. The township has paid a lump sum fee back then in 2017 for this group to put the package together and to go through the whole process of conducting a pre-bid meeting, reviewing the shop drawings, and actually working their way through the installation of this equipment. There has been some work done at the country club since this was first put together, so the scope is just slightly reduced, but not greatly. The biggest majority of the work is in the upper attic area above the ballroom. The system up there, I believe, dates to maybe 1990. It's in bad shape. In addition, when it was installed, there's no flooring like a regular floor underneath the equipment. It's kind of placed on the support rafters. So even to work on it, it's very difficult. There's planks up there, but we need to put an actual floor. And this is the area above the ballroom. The document that they prepared is extensive. It's a book, and it is very, very detailed of all the equipment, all the specifications. This is a project manual. It has everything in there, all the documentation, bid bonds, you name it. It's all put together here. And we've already paid for this work back in 2017. And the goal at that time was to install this equipment in the spring of 2017 before we got to the point where it was too hot up in the area to work, and that we would have to shut off all the air conditioning in there while they were doing the work. We're currently in the same kind of timetable situation. If we're to move ahead with this now, if we put this out and get this project bid now, hopefully we will get bids in and be able to award the contract to do the work in the mid to late fall. By that time, things start to cool down a little bit. It's palatable for someone to get up there and work in that area. It's probably about 125 degrees up in that area right now, which is, it's not workable. The flip side is if we don't get it done before winter, we have to shut everything down up there, and then we'd have to provide temporary heat in order to keep any of the pipes from freezing up there. Once the system is all in place, it will be heated enough to keep the pipes from freezing and fully functional. So we're kind of on a tight window that we really need to try and move this ahead to get the bids out in time, have them evaluated, and hopefully award the project so a company can get in there and do the work. The type of equipment is not something that sits on a shelf. A lot of it will have to be manufactured. I'm sure there'll probably be, as in most cases with equipment like this, 4 to 6 week lead time just on getting the equipment. So we really need to move on this. This project has really, unfortunately, has kind of sat there since then. A lot has gone on with the country club and who's operating it, who's not operating it. The bottom line is this is a facility that the township owns. It is a beautiful structure. If we do not do this work, it will come back and cost us a lot more. If these pipes break and the system goes down, we're going to be doing a lot more cosmetic repair from water damage, broken pipes, what have you. And it does not matter how or who comes in to operate that facility. This work is going to have to be done. And no one is going to want to walk in here as an outside contract vendor and take over a lease of the facility, knowing that they have a faulty system that really is not sufficient to handle the heating and air conditioning needs and could possibly break at any time in the middle of winter, which would put their business at jeopardy. So it's my recommendation that the board authorize us to move ahead with putting this out to bid. This would be a capital improvement project. In discussions with Mr. Ham over the initial costs, what they were talking about, we're looking at it will probably be in the neighborhood of $225,000. But this is major work that has to be done. This is an investment in that facility, and I really urge the board to move ahead and authorize us to put this project out to bid. We've already paid for this document, and according to this document, this company actually owes us work. They owe us the pre-bid meetings and the review of the shop drawings and all those things that was already paid to them back in 2017. So that's why we're looking to get this project on course and move ahead with it. So this evening, what I'm asking is if the board would be so inclined to make a motion authorizing the administration to put this project out to bid.
I'll make a motion to authorize the administration to advertise for bids to complete necessary HVAC repair replacement work at the Reading Country Club.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion?
I just have a question. Is this in the budget for the Reading Country Club? Or is this going to be taken from where? I know we have to get it done. I just like to know where the money's coming from.
Jeff, I don't know if you have the answer. I recall seeing it in the budget, the 2020 budget. Is it?
Over the years, but I don't know that it's in this year.
I believe it is, but
It was in there for a couple of years anyway.
I thought we did put it in, Dave. I'll have to check.
I remember going through the budget a couple of weeks ago. I thought I saw it in there.
I mean, it's a capital improvement, and if the facility is fully up and running right now, the rental lease income that would be coming back would be covering a portion of that, as a long-term investment in the property. I don't remember exactly if it was in this budget or not, but it really should be a capital item.
Okay. I know it has to get fixed, but let's get over with this vote and then we'll
Yeah, because we're gonna, as I say, we're requesting bids so we can check on the budget and everything else in the meantime. This is gonna take some time. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Thank you.
Jeff, item number 6, discussion and approval of resolution extending business privilege tax deadline.
Okay, I can step in on this one also. In response to a number of requests that we had received and trying to be in conjunction with a lot of the other municipalities out there, we're asking that we move the date for the business privilege tax to correspond with the federal tax filing, which is has been moved up obviously to July 15th. It's only 2 days away, but it will. What it will do is it will make it all consistent. Several of the businesses that approach us about it, we're saying that, well, we don't have our taxes done, therefore we don't know the numbers, and if we don't, get it in on time, we're going to be paying penalties. Well, the reality is that the number of companies that did not pay is really not extraordinary. And there are some companies that have already paid after the April 15th deadline, and they already included the penalty payment right in with their fees that they paid. It's not a great deal of money. I believe the total penalties, if I remember correctly, it was less than $2,000. By doing this, what we would do is anyone who has submitted their payments between April 15th and July 15th would get refunded the penalty. Anyone that obviously paid before the April 15th date, there was no penalty and there'll be no problems. Anyone after July 15th would have to pay the penalties. But again, a big majority of the people have already made their payments, and it would not be a very bad task for the staff to put together checks to refund this money back to the people. And what it does, it just basically puts us in conjunction with the federal filing deadline and what has gone on with most of the other municipalities around here. So it's our recommendation that we pass this resolution, and it will allow the staff to move ahead to refund anyone who has been penalized during this COVID period.
Thanks, Jeff.
I'll make a motion to approve the resolution extending the business privilege tax deadline from April 15th to July 15th and waive and refund penalties paid prior to the July 15th deadline.
I'll second.
Any further discussion?
No.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Thank you.
Item number 7, authorization for solicitor to institute an action to quiet title in the Berks County Court of Common Pleas. Alicia, were you covering this, or I guess we're authorizing who's?
Okay.
Okay,
go ahead.
go ahead.
Go ahead, Jeff.
Just to explain this, with the project going on Perkiomen Avenue, excuse me, there is a stretch of land there. It's a median strip, and for many, many years, the township has maintained that median strip. However, the township does not own it. There's no record in the county that the township owns it. There's no real record that PennDOT owns it. PennDOT has not maintained it. So in order to move this project ahead, we were anticipating that we would continue maintaining that median as part of this streetscape project and improvements that's going on there in order to make it legal to satisfy PennDOT and any grant reimbursements on the project. The township has to actually have title to that land. In order to do that, we need to go through Court of Common Pleas, and what we're authorizing our solicitor to do is to put this package together, apply for this, this quiet title action, and then the township would then officially own that little stretch of land. It's not a large piece of land. According to Mr. Ham, the township has maintained it, for his recollection, probably for at least 30 years that we have maintained that piece of land. So it makes sense for us to continue doing so, and it clears up all the legal status when it comes to PennDOT.
Yeah, thanks, Jeff. That was really comprehensive. That is my understanding as well. It's not something that we're expecting to be a big adversarial proceeding at all. It's more formality to put anybody on notice that we're seeking to officially take title to something that it seems a little bit fuzzy about, and everybody is in agreement that this is the cleanest way to proceed.
Thanks, Jeff. Thanks, Alicia.
So basically what we need is a motion from the board this evening authorizing the solicitor to move ahead with this.
I move that we authorize the solicitor to institute an action to quiet the title in the Berks County Court of Common Pleas for the Perkiomen Avenue project.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you. Thanks, Joe. Thanks, Alicia. Department reports. Chief, would you like to go first?
Chief, we can't hear you.
Or we can come back to Chief. Chief, hello? Chief?
Him.
Laurie, are you able to contact?
Yeah, I just sent him a message. Yeah, he got it.
He's smiling.
No, we can't. I'm gonna try to.
Or we can come back to Chief in a minute.
How about that?
There we go.
Hey.
Very good. If you can start again, Chief.
Oh,
Did
We
lose
lost.
him? Oh, there he is.
the top of his keyboard may be on the Zoom. You might check his speaker on the top of the keyboard. Chief.
Yeah.
He's still muted.
Yes, it says that I'm on. Can you hear me now?
There you go.
Okay.
Yeah, you're good.
All right, there we go. So it was a busy 4th of July weekend. Just to make it short, our officers responded to 21 fireworks-related calls over the weekend. This was the first 4th of July under the new Township Ordinance, the fireworks ordinance. So we used it as a good time to inform the residents of the new ordinance and also hand out an informational pamphlet to them with highlights of the ordinance. They were very receptive to it. We issued 13 warnings, and which is a good thing. Our officers didn't have to go back to any of those same houses to issue citations. So it was very informational. And again, a lot of the residents were surprised because they had no idea of the new ordinance and what it entailed. So it was a good time for our officers to educate them. In addition, we had 2 new employees of the police department sworn in at DJ Fegley's office on June 30th. That's Officer Frank Santiago, who graduated from the police academy, and Officer Nick Davey, who came to us from Hazleton Police Department. So when we have our first in-person meeting, I'd like to bring them in front of the board so you guys can have an opportunity to meet them. We're excited to have them. Both of them have a lot of experience that we think will be valuable to the police department. In addition, both of them are also veterans as well. So we welcome them to the police department. We had a Narcan save yesterday at a business in the township. Officers responded to a individual that was overdosed on heroin and not responsive. They administered Narcan and were able to successfully revive the individual until EMS arrived and were able to take over. So again, that Narcan and the training that we've received in it has come in handy numerous times now, and we're glad that we have it. Starting yesterday and through July 18th, township residents will see additional officers out in the township. We received federal grant money to take part in Operation Safe Driver Week. What it is we'll be looking for dangerous driving behaviors as part of the Commercial Vehicle Safety Alliance, their Operation Safe Driver Week. So focusing on commercial vehicles, but also passenger vehicles as well, looking for speed and aggressive drivers. That's all I have.
Great. Thanks, Steve.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Clarence, you want to cover?
Yeah, over the last couple of weeks, we had quite a few trees come down due to the storm damage. We took care of that. Wasn't all that bad, I guess, but we lucked out. We also continuing our paving projects. We just about finished with that. We should, another couple of weeks, we'll be done with our paving for the year, and we're continuing with the highway mowing, and that's pretty much it.
Excellent. Thanks, Clarence. Joe?
Just one item. Earlier this year, I presented to the board that we had a meeting with Exeter Associates in regards to 4 streets that they currently are paying taxes for. The township actually has been maintaining these 4 streets, and this is in the Fairview Chapel area, consisting of a section of Philadelphia Avenue, Sunset Manor Drive, Clare Drive, and Dolphin Place. Based on our research, there's never been any deed of dedications recorded in the courthouse. However, the township has been maintaining these roads, as well as we've been receiving liquid fuels every year for these streets. In order to correct this situation, based on our records, these legal descriptions were prepared, and actually our office prepared plans and legal descriptions for 3 of those roads. However, back in 2003, the deeds of dedications were either never recorded or never signed. However, it appears that action was taken by the board to approve these. It was more of a formality for us to just already just include what legally accept these roads, as we already been maintaining them. I just wanted to bring this tonight to the attention. I did put together a short little report, and I sent it over to Solicitor's office as well as to the township staff. However, I just wanted to bring the board that this may be an item that I might need some guidance from the solicitor. Seems like maybe the easiest solution is just to ratify some of these decisions that were made and have these deeds of dedications recorded. Exeter Associates will continue to pay taxes unless these deeds are recorded in the courthouse. And the tax maps already show that they are paying for these portions of streets. So it's more of a formality. It hasn't been really impacting us because we have been getting the money that we rightfully deserve for these streets from the state. However, Exeter Associates was requesting that the township consider whatever legal action they would need to take, such as deed of dedication, to correct this matter so these streets can be taken off the tax maps. Not necessarily looking for action for this evening, but I just wanted to bring it to the board's attention. I can review this with the solicitor and staff, and hopefully by the 27th, we can have this as an agenda item for further discussion. If anybody has any questions, I know it's a little confusing. These are just small streets that just never, technically never got recorded in the courthouse. There's a separate deed book and volume for streets, and the courthouse is just, the Berks County Tax Assessment Office is continuing to issue tax bills to Exeter Associates. Clarence and myself, I think I was back in February, we did meet with representatives to discuss this. They have also been contacting me due to the COVID. Not a lot of work has been taking place, but we did finally get to perform some courthouse research, and generally that's what we discovered, that these streets have just never been officially recorded, and they've been voted by the board to be dedicated, but that action was never taken, or that process was never taken.
Great. Thanks, Joe. So you don't need any action at this time?
No, at this moment, I just wanted to bring it to the board's attention, and hopefully by the next meeting, I'll be able to have some more information, and with the help of the solicitor's office, with Alicia, that we'll be able to have a recommendation to the board. I think it can be a simple solution. The legal descriptions have already been prepared. Their office prepared to Philadelphia Avenue. I think it's just a more formality of ratifying a decision that may have been made, 15 or 16 years ago, and preparing the proper deed of dedication for the board to consider taking action. That's all I have, unless anybody has any questions.
Yeah, thanks, Joe. It's really nice not to have to ask you about the underpass to Trout Run.
It seems to be working well, and it did turn out nice. I'm very impressed with the work they performed.
Good. Alicia?
I don't have anything to report. I apologize for my power issues this evening, but I have been able to listen in and chime in, I hope, as necessary.
Yep. Thank you. Public comment.
Okay, we have two more, two for general comments. The first one here is from Tom Howell.
When are all Exeter TWP supervisors going to make sure the people of Exeter TWP get a full day's work for a day's pay from all staff? The God that Tom Howell believes in knows everything, and why Tom Howell makes this comment.
And just to clarify on that one, as I did his last comment, first of all, the computer read TWP, that he was abbreviating Township, in case you couldn't hear that. And he had in all capitals the word people, the phrase full day's work, the phrase a day's pay, and also the word God is in all caps, everything, and comment. The computer didn't capture that.
Okay. Thanks, Laurie. Any comments from anyone?
Yes, but I'll stay quiet.
Okay. Thanks. Laurie, go move on.
Okay, yep. And the next one is from David Hughes. He's got three separate, he listed them out separately. I think it would probably be the easiest based on just the format it's in. I'm going to play them each individually if that's okay with you. Otherwise, I think it's going to read it funny.
How do we get answers from our supervisors? The new supervisors promise transparency, yet when we ask for an explanation regarding budget overruns of close to $187,000, we receive silence. Our community deserves and expects a clear explanation for the budget overruns. What does the purchase order dictate for this department, expense item, and vendor? How could we go so far over budget without board review? Please don't tell us you reviewed it, because nowhere in the minutes or in the videos is this ever mentioned.
Okay, that was the end of his first part. Okay, to move on to the
Comments, anyone? That was, I think that was regarding an issue we discussed last meeting. Not sure.
I thought Jen had commented on that. Jen, are you still?
I'm here.
Jen, didn't we address that? Because I thought that was one of my questions, or from the budget, because it was an engineer. I believe it was part of the engineering budget.
Correct. It's consulting in the engineering, or in review fees in the engineering budget. They were invoices payable mainly to McMahon and Associates for the Perkiomen Ave streetscape project.
Right. Yeah, I recall that now, and that's a large project with a large number of grants, and yeah, as with any budget, some items are difficult to estimate. And if no other comments, go ahead, Laurie.
Okay, and it's still David Hughes.
This past weekend, the RCC Golf Course held a tournament where they dedicated the golf course and the clubhouse as a registered National Historic Site by the United States Department of the Interior. No announcements were made in order for the general public to attend, Nothing on our township's futuristic website informing the public of this great event and recognition in our community for this wonderful asset. Why not? I asked David Speece, our chairman of the board, why the public was not informed about the dedication. He said, "I don't know." I asked our new township manager why it wasn't advertised to the community, and he said, "I don't know. I just started." We have to ask ourselves, where is the organization? The transparency? Why was the community left out of a very positive event? Mr. Speece presented the dedication with about a 7-minute public address, so he knew the event was scheduled for the day.
Comments, anyone? This was not a township event, by the way, just to mention that. It was not a township event, so it shouldn't be on the township website, as you know, other events are not. It was run by a group, ERCCP, who have supported the club for a long time, and they were dedicating a plaque and asked me to say a few words, but yeah, that's about it. It wasn't a township event. I don't know. Any comments from anyone else? We know some others attended.
Yeah, Dave, it was gonna be part of the supervisor comments. I did mention, it's actually in the minutes from the last meeting. I did announce that we would have it, and it was on the Reading Country Club Facebook page, as well as I believe it's the Reading Country Club Partnership Facebook page. There was sponsorship, there was a book, and I know the Reading Country Club Facebook page is linked to the township website. Other than, there wasn't, I don't think there was anything directly like on the main page of the township website, but there was at least that notification that I know of.
Plus with the social distancing too, we didn't want 1,000 people there with the limitations with COVID. That's the other thing to be cognizant of.
Laurie, was it in the township newsletter? I forget.
Yeah.
Yes, it was.
It was
Okay.
in the newsletter, yep.
Very
That's
good.
the other thing. It was in the paper. It was in the township newsletter, which comes electronically. So it definitely was out there.
Yeah. Thanks, everyone. Laurie, you want to continue?
Yep. So he has just one more piece. This is the last one.
When will the DCED report be published in a local newspaper? The audit report has been completed. When will we have access to it? These are issues we should be concerned about. Thank you.
I think that was a direct question. I mean, Jeff or Jen, I don't know. Is there a publication date or something there?
The DCED has been published. It is on DCED's website. It's also available, and some people have asked for it via a right-to-know request. He's also asking about the audit, which is never done by this time, really. We are in the final stages of it. We're finalizing it, and then it will be available on the website once it is final and approved by the board.
Thanks, Jen. Supervisor reports. Michelle?
Excuse me. I just want to mention it over in Farming Ridge. The fireworks were insane. There were so many fireworks. My dogs wouldn't go out for 2 days. It was so bad. And also, we haven't done anything on the noise ordinance for the people that were in here, I don't know how many times. So we need to put that back on the shelf if we could, please, and get that taken care of. Should be under unfinished business because it's been months and months.
Years, Michelle, actually.
Yeah, well, I'm trying to be kind.
It's been 2 years now.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it needs to be taken care of.
I agree. Yeah, we got to get back to the residents and put our plan in place.
You have any other items, Michelle?
Yeah, that's all for tonight. Thank you.
Just wanted to comment on that too, that, I mean, I have it on my list every meeting, and I thought we had a discussion a few weeks ago. We just don't know when we're going back to regular meetings. We need to advertise, do the noise ordinance. We're ready to go. We're going to have council attend, outside council attend to address any questions. But we were hoping to do that face to face. If the board wants to you put this on for the next meeting, we can do it, we're ready to go, but we were trying to wait to when we were going to have face-to-face meetings for that. But I think that's up to the board here to decide if we want it, if we would like Jeff and the administration to consider it for the next agenda, we can ask them to do that.
I think it would be nice to at least let the people know that where you're at in a situation. You know,
Yep.
go from there.
And Chief, maybe you can comment. I mean, I think I kind of just summarized it there. We had a meeting with outside counsel. We talked to them. They think they've done the best they can. There's a lot of reasonings why things can and can't be done. We are ready to go. It's a question of, you know, how we were hoping to do that face to face, but you know, we can update everyone on that.
Yeah, so outside counsel has the draft ordinance and it's ready to go. He believes it's, of course, enforceable. I know we were waiting to hopefully have a in-person meeting where everybody could come and address their concerns. But it is ready to be advertised and move forward. Being that we probably won't have an in-person meeting for a while, you know, it's up to the board to if they want to bring it forward. But it is, again, it is ready to go. And the outside counsel is ready to, if we're going to go the Zoom route, he'll be able to either dial in or show up and answer any questions that board members might have.
Thanks, Chief. Does everyone want to just put a discussion for the noise ordinance on the next agenda or actually schedule it?
I think we need to move forward because I see these virtual meetings lasting for a while.
Let's put it on the agenda. Would be my recommendation, Jeff, and I think that's what I'm hearing from others. We'll try to
get
get
a public hearing today virtually, so I don't see it'll hurt, especially given the COVID situation to do it. You know,
right.
Either the next meeting or the week or the meeting in August.
But let's
feel comfortable with.
Chief, maybe we try to get outside counsel to attend the next meeting. At least we'll put it maybe early in the agenda. We'll at least review it, give the public enough time to send in comments and everything, and he will be there to address each of those. I think we walked through all the points that have come up so far, but that discussion publicly, I think, would be very helpful.
Is it possible to do it over 2 meetings so people have plenty of time to give comment?
I think that probably would be best, being that it is such an important ordinance to the township. Probably having it, you know, put out there and give people a chance to maybe digest it and formulate questions that can be answered.
Yeah, so like try to do the first part the end of July, and then would give people 2 weeks to comment before we get to final approval.
Yeah.
And that'll give us proper time for advertising also. If the board wants to take final action on it, we could do that at the first meeting of August.
Good. Very good. Thanks, Michelle, for bringing that up.
Is there anyone from the township that's going to contact these people and explain to them what's going to happen? Or would you like me to just call them and tell them to look at the website for it to be up? How would you like this handled?
I think those that are involved, I mean, it would be, you know, an email or something to them to inform them that the next 2 agendas we're going to be addressing this.
I have the contact information. I can let them know.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Chief. John?
The only thing I just wanted to add to piggyback onto Michelle's point is the other thing we got to do before that we promised last year is the Service Electric follow-up meeting.
Yep.
I know that's difficult now with the virtual, but it's something that franchise agreement has been month to month for a while now. So we should probably look into rehashing that at some point soon too.
Yeah. It's on the list.
Yep. That's all I had.
Very good. Thanks, John.
Yep.
Joe?
Just 2 things. One, in conjunction with the conversation I had with the school board today, I made a recommendation to them that they also tour the facility. I don't think they quite understand. You know, we've all seen that. We've all seen the buildings, and so Clarence, if you don't mind, would you have an issue if they reached out to you to come down and take a look?
No, that's fine. That'll be
Okay.
fine.
Okay, I'll reach out to Mr. Hemberger to talk with the board and see if they can set up a time where everybody can come down together. Then the only other thing, just to follow up for the Heritage, the tournament over the weekend, I want to thank Tom Walker and the ERCCP. They did a tremendous amount of work. I don't know if you can see here this book. It's a 36-page book, and it really goes over the history of the Reading Country Club. And again, myself not as a member, but who's, obviously has played there. There's just so much history in there. There was a tremendous amount of folks that sponsored this book, put it together. There is the plaque is there by the first tee. Jeff, thanks for coming out. I know some residents were out. John, I believe you were able to get there.
Yes, sir.
Michelle, you were there. I missed you. Everybody, a lot of people were masked, so it was hard to tell who was there and who wasn't there. But yeah, it was a heck of a nice day. There was over 100 golfers there. Again, thanks to everyone involved for the day.
Yep, it was a nice event. Kudos to Greg as well for whatever planning he had.
Very good. Thanks, Joe. Greg?
Yeah, just to echo what Joe talked about, I want to make sure Tom Walker deserves an awful lot of credit, but also Derek Sandritter. He's doing an outstanding job at Reading Country Club, and you see it on a day-to-day basis, but tournaments kind of set clubs apart, and for every tournament we've had this year, we've had increased participation, and I think that's because he's so organized and he does a super job communicating, so want to make sure that he's recognized as well. I thought it was a great day. There were 116 people, and that's the largest tournament I've participated in 10 years.
Yep.
Thanks, Greg. And yeah, lastly, myself, I'm going to say again to Laurie, the communications team and everything, a lot of positive comments I got on the electronic newsletter. The folks that have received that commented, they said, hey, they got it, popped in their mailbox, and they appreciated that they realized that cost savings and everything else, and being very timely that the information is up to date. You're not waiting weeks for the printer and then the mailing and everything else. So just wanted to mention that. The only other thing I have, follow up on, I think we should follow up a little bit from the wastewater treatment plan, RCC and other things, just where we are with some of our insurance claims that we had last year. I think some things were still outstanding, just to cover that off and make sure that's all wrapped up and taken care of. Other than that, that's all I have.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
Stay healthy, everybody.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Thanks, everyone. Have a safe
Good night, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Have a good night.
Good night.